Welcome to the Building Materials Sales and Marketing Podcast, presented by Mark Mitchell, a sales and marketing consultant who specializes in helping building materials companies overcome difficult sales problems. Mark is the author of the book Building Materials Channel Marketing and a frequent speaker at industry events.
Hi, this is Mark Mitchell from Wizard Strategy. Thanks for joining me today. Today, I want to talk to you on this podcast about this ugly, horrible, terrible term called value engineering. It's like, oh my God, we're going to be value engineered out of this project. So if you sell commercial building materials, particularly in new construction, commercial projects through the architect, the general contractor, and so forth, all of a sudden, you're going to work really hard to get specified. You're going to, to become, after you're specified, you're working hard then to be chosen. And inevitably what happens is the project is coming in, number one, over budget. So they're looking for places to save money, in which they go, well, let's use value engineering. And the second way is that even if they're not over budget, the general contractor today will frequently look and say, gee, I can make more money wherever I can find a way to save money. And whether he puts that all in his pocket or he has an agreement where he splits it with the owner, but he has a real incentive to use value engineering to try to find lower cost materials, which unfortunately might be you. This happens so frequently that it's, it is just it happens too frequently, I guess. And one of the things that's hit me, I noticed this recently where I saw a company, Dry Design, that makes exterior architectural metal wall panels, that we'll say. So we'll call it cladding. But right on their homepage, it said, check out our new solution for value engineered facades. I thought, wow, where most people don't want to address the elephant in the room. They work hard to get that first lunch and learn. They work hard to get in the specification for this particular project. They work hard to maybe be able to submit a bid and then only to lose it to value engineering. And most of the time, not even get a phone call back or a contact. They just find out that they lost it. And I thought how smart it is to kind of upfront address the elephant in the room. Like, we have value engineered products. It's almost like I would go ahead and say, like, all of our projects are value engineered, so you don't need to worry about that, at least with our product. Another way to think about this is think about how many hundreds, if not thousands, of different products go into the average commercial building. Every one of those is an opportunity to save money. And you don't want to be one of the obvious ones. You don't want to have a big target on your back. Wow, that's really expensive product. That's a lot more than we're used to paying. We should certainly find a lower cost solution for that. So first thing you want to do is not be the obvious one that has a target on your back that's going to be one, because they don't have time to value engineer every single product. They're looking for the low-hanging fruit. What are things that, one, where they could get maximum savings without too much effort and without too much pushback from the architect or the owner? You don't want to be one of those. But I really love the idea of going ahead and saying our products are value engineered. I really liked the thing that Dry Design went ahead and put on their website, and that was they talked about the history of value engineering. I thought it was really quite interesting. And they said, when the concept of value engineering was first conceived during World War II, the aim was to find real value through careful analysis of products and components. This was accomplished by either improving performance without increasing cost or reducing cost without sacrificing performance. It was understood that value could only be created if functionality and durability remained the priority. But as we all know, today, value engineering has really changed from that concept. Now it's just about what can we find. We dress it up and call it value engineering, but it's really about what can we find that's cheaper. There's a good chance that your product offers some added benefits that you feel are more than worth the added cost. And the problem becomes when the owner, particularly, or the architect, does not really understand those. And once again, because they have to understand hundreds, if not thousands of products. So it's really hard for them to zero in on why your flooring material is a better solution for this project, even though it costs more. It's just kind of like, oh, you could save me money on the flooring. You could save me money on the roofing, the windows, whatever it is. And I really liked the way that this idea of just go ahead and call it out. And when you think about it, like, owners and architects don't want to save their way into a building with problems. The architect, one of his biggest concerns is his reputation. And if he would design a building that has problems, okay, sure, there could be some legal issues, but he's more concerned about his reputation, word of mouth getting around that, wow, they designed that hotel in Sheboygan, and boy, it really had a lot of problems. Well, guess what? No one says it was the general contractor who value engineered solutions that caused the problems. It goes back to the architect. And so the architect does not want to save their way. They also don't want to waste any money for their owner client. And then the owner certainly does not want to have a building that's going to have problems. The owner of anybody, unless they're building a building to simply flip it in the first few months, if they're going to operate it in any way or occupy it, or even if they're going to sell it, but they want a reputation of being, we build good buildings, and when you buy one from us, you can trust us, that person does not want a problem. So it's kind of like you need to, as a building material company, you need to stand up and defend yourself. It's almost like after I saw that drive-it, I loved it so much, I thought, if you're selling a commercial building product, right on the homepage of your website, maybe it should scream things like value engineered to save time and money. Maybe it's something like if you were selling door frames, our door frames are value engineered for each project. Or if you were selling cladding, we value engineer our cladding so you don't have to. Or let us value engineer your insulation specifications. Just go ahead and don't be afraid of that word, value engineering. Just go ahead and say, hey, all of our solutions are value engineered. We're a serious business. We don't sell people more product than they need. We sell the product that matches the need of that particular project, which means it's value engineered. Because otherwise, you just turn it over to the general contractor to paint you into a corner that you're just expensive. And so it leaves it open and makes it very easy for them to want to save you. So I think that if you would start going ahead, if you're calling out, like our products and solutions are value engineered, you kind of take the wind out of their sails. You also set yourself up for much more likely, if they are finding a lower cost solution, you've already claimed your value engineered, you got a much better chance of them reaching back out to you and talking to you about it. And so if you lose the project, it doesn't come as a surprise to you. So I think that this idea of avoiding the concept, avoiding the words value engineered, staying away from it, crossing your fingers that it won't come up, I think is foolish. I think you should go ahead and deal with it. In fact, I would build value engineering into everything I do. If I was doing a lunch and learn and I was talking about a lunch and learn about windows, I would make sure that every one of my lunch and learns talks about how to value engineer a window, how to value engineer insulation, how to value engineer roofing. Okay, just go ahead and own it. Okay, it puts you up there showing that you're a responsible manufacturer who has the best interest of the owner and the architect at heart, that you can trust you. You're not just trying to charge the most that you can for a commodity product. And I think so many times, in life, we have something that comes up and we go, oh, don't talk about that. Oh, don't mention that. And everybody else is talking about it. And we just kind of hope that maybe it's not going to come up, but it's going to come up. So I think that building material manufacturers today should take the term value engineering back away from the general contractor. Okay? Building material manufacturers let the general contractor steal that term and change the definition of it for their own advantage. I think the building material manufacturers should go ahead and just take it right back from them and carefully make sure that the architect and owner understand what does the true definition of value engineering mean. It doesn't mean cheaper. And I think when you do that, I think you'd be amazed at how much more successful you would be. You have to invest so much time and effort today to get an architectural specification, and then it may be 3 years from then later when they actually order your product. And in that whole time, people are trying to take the business from you that you worked so hard to get that spec. And now that you're in the spec, you've got the spec, they're going to actually build the building. Now, you're a target for many of your competitors, and you can be a target for general contractors if you make it easy for them to show that you are more expensive than you should be, or you're not worth the price that you're charging for your product. So I think facing this head on I think you would see tremendous results. I don't know how you calculate things today in terms of how many times you get a spec, and then whether you retain the spec and get the business or you lose the spec. But if you were tracking that and you started to go ahead and address value engineering, I just can't believe that you wouldn't start to see that you would retain more of the specs and have them actually turn into sales. And also another thing to think about is the best architectural sales reps that I know, they work really hard to have a great relationship with the architect, that the architect trusts them. And because of that, they call it annuity sales. It's like business just comes in on projects that they didn't even know existed or weren't that big, but there's a number of them because the architect just likes the product, but also just likes the company and likes the rep and knows that they don't steer them wrong. So when you walk in there with this term value engineering right up front, all of a sudden, you're making the architect look smarter. You're making them look better. The architect, already have a bad reputation, but certain owners can say, oh, architects, they just want to create masterpieces and win awards and they don't care about my budget. And so every time you enable the architect to look like they are being financially responsible, really helps them with their reputation, with the client and with the owner. And, how many times does the architect in the meeting going through the plan say, oh, by the way, I want to show you now, we really looked at the roofing system and we went ahead and worked with this roofing company and we value engineered the solution. Does that happen in the first conversations? Probably not very often. I've never heard it, but imagine if it did. You probably just lock that order up. So as always, I like to be looking for things that are kind of the contrarian point of view, look at the opposite, look at what's a problem and what's a different way to solve it. And in this case, the challenge of value engineering, I think number one is to just upfront go ahead and address it and own it. Like, we only sell value engineered solutions. Go ahead and talk about it. Make sure that you talk about what is value engineering in your product category. When you start talking that way, you just grab that word, the term value engineering, back away from the general contractor, and you now own it. So I hope, looking forward to seeing more building material companies perhaps use those terms, value engineering, when I see them at a trade show or on their website. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. If you think I'm crazy or you think this is a good idea. Well, I hope this has given you something to think about. And if you found it was of value, I hope you will share it with others in your organization, as well as sign up for my weekly newsletter. And also follow me on LinkedIn. I put a lot of additional information on LinkedIn. I'm posting upwards of 6 times a day on LinkedIn. And that's a great place to connect with me. And I always like to make new connections and make new friends and learn more about your business and your challenges so that I can continue to provide helpful advice. So until our next episode, thanks again for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to this podcast from Mark Mitchell on building materials, sales, and marketing. We hope he gave you some fresh perspectives on how to grow your sales, and will listen to future episodes.